This is pretty much a simple exercise of what I do daily in my yield farming positions. So ideally, this is how I go about everything, and I'm going to show you one example of a position that I am in currently that I actively have to kind of pay a bit more closer attention to. First things first is you get a general idea of what the market is like. So all I do with that is find out pretty much what's the main one doing. Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's obviously okay in a range or something like that, then you get an idea of what's happening in the market. Also, one thing to pay attention to is over here on X. Make sure you have an idea of what's happening through through social media in general, because you're going to see a lot of accounts and people talking about different topics, things like that. So the key here is, big news is going to potentially have a major impact on how you go forward and how things happen. So that's one thing to be aware of. So as I mentioned, we have market conditions and obviously news. The next thing then what I like to look at is kind of a dive into the ecosystem. So as you're well aware, this entire series I'm focusing obviously on Sonic, and it is built out through our official partners here of SwapX. So what I like to do next then is kind of get an idea of how tokens are doing in general. So, and potentially if I need to claim rewards, compound positions, and things like that. So again, just using this example for this wallet I have, which is a non-USDC, my ideal scenario here would be I already have it set of where I'm looking to kind of potentially get out of a position if it's not worth it, if the APRs drop massively, or if it's not generating pretty much the way I want it to go. I'm more than willing to cut my losses and move on to the next thing. And again, just not risking too much. So what I like to do here is jump over to X Screener. And over here, I did this in a previous video, talked about and on and stuff like that, where I think we could potentially see a reversal in around here. So at this moment in time, I'm still happy where I hold it. However, if it looks like things are not going to progress the way I want them to progress, then I would definitely look to get out. Now, what I'll be paying close attention here on this is like if there's, again, this is my own trading experience, so again, it might not be excellent, but potential head and shoulders here on a on the daily time frame. So this could mean we could potentially see a drop down, and we could potentially, if the markets don't go right, going pushing down to $2 in around the 150 mark. So from that scenario, it's up to you personally how you play it out. So if you're wanting to keep holding positions or not, for me, I will probably look to get out of this position if we break roughly this line of the 280, 290 range. And I'm more than happy to get into it if it drops to around a dollar mark again, set up an LP again, and then hopefully we can get the upside of that. That's one of the key things I always pay attention to. So don't just set and forget. Always have to kind of do a bit of research, see how the overall market is feeling. If it's a case market is feeling very bearish and things like that, then by all means get out of positions if you think you can get into them cheaper without necessarily taking a big loss. I think that is vitally important. The next one I want to show you is an actual position I got into with different wallets, and I want to draw your attention here to this position here on, again, Silo Finance over here on Sonic. You can see you have S wrapped origin Sonic. So I deposited Sonic for 4.8%. I borrowed wrapped origin Sonic, and with that then I've set up an LP. And the LP, you can see it over here, I have it set up, and you can see I have roughly $3,000 in this position, earning 84%. You can see obviously the return over the last couple of days here. Now, this is a prime lesson here to kind of help you understand the potential of and don't always just focus on APRs and thinking that's perfect. So with here you can see I have 3,000 in it, and if we just look to remove, for example, you can see I have 8,800 Origin Sonic and 366 USDC. Now, what I've done in this scenario is I've borrowed roughly 10,000 wrapped Origin Sonic. Now, there is a slight change in the swap ratio here, so I think one wrapped Origin Sonic converts to 0.9998, say, of an Origin Sonic. So there is going to be a small loss here. However, what's impact here for me at this moment in time, it might show I'm down, I have earned $45 in rewards. However, if I want to repay this position back, and like I mentioned here, and I want to get back, I need to get back to around 12,000 OS tokens in total before I can convert to wrap again to pay my 10,000. I'll still have to use maybe $30 of this. So technically I'm only after profiting roughly $15. in this position at this moment in time if I decide to close up. However, what I'll be doing with this position is using rewards every single few days and to just pay down on the loan. It is pretty much a free position. I don't have to use any of my own assets. I'm earning points along the way, and this is a prime example of getting into LPs and getting into a position where you think prices potentially stay stable enough for the foreseeable future, which I'm hoping. Obviously, the higher this LP value goes up, the more OS I could potentially have to buy back from the market, which obviously in turn is going to impact my overall results. So they are some of the things you have to do regularly and pay close attention to, because as I said, two different scenarios. We have the scenario here where you have Origin Sonic, and then obviously the scenario over here where we have a non-USDC. Both have different ideas. This one here was originally set up for a cash flow test, which I think has served its purpose to an extent. This one here is set up to just basically get my own assets working. So obviously I've deposited S, I've borrowed the wrapped OS, set up the LP. I'm going to use rewards to pay back the loan. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, the plan will be that this position will be eventually 50% paid off, and you can move on, comfortably then. So this is ideally my approach to most of my crypto assets and how I want to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's kind of like behind the scenes of what I do. If you're interested in joining the Discord group, head on over to the website. Link is here. You should get the link in your emails, and you can jump straight into the Discord. So thanks very much for watching. Hope everyone has a great day.